Hey there, and welcome back. When you hear the word carbs, what pops into your head? Probably things like bread, pasta, sugar, right? And you're not wrong, but that's just scratching the surface. Today, we're diving deep into carbohydrates, and you're going to see that they are so much more than just food. They are the architects, the fuel tanks, and even the ID badges of the entire biological world. So, let's get into it.
But you know what? Instead of me just telling you what they are, let's hear from the molecules themselves. If carbohydrates could write a bio for their social media profile, this would be it. It's kind of their mission statement, right? And it perfectly sums up everything we're about to unpack.
All right, let's start at the beginning with the sweet basics. First, we'll nail down what exactly these molecules are. And then, we'll see how scientists organize the massive and diverse world of sugars.
Whoa, okay. Polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. That's a mouthful, isn't it? But don't worry, it's not nearly as scary as it sounds. Polyhydroxy just means many hydroxyl groups. You know, those little OH groups. And an aldehyde or ketone is just a specific type of chemical structure. So really, a carbohydrate is just a molecule made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen that's got a bunch of these hydroxyl groups, and that's literally it. And they are by far the most abundant organic molecules on Earth.
So how do we keep all these sugars straight? Well, luckily, scientists organize them in a really logical way, by size. Think of it like this. Monosaccharides are your single individual Lego bricks. Oligosaccharides are what you get when you click just a few of those bricks together, maybe 2 to 10. And polysaccharides? Those are the giant sprawling structures you can build. Long chains, complex branches, the whole shebang.
So let's zoom in on those individual Lego bricks, the monosaccharides, because this is where the real magic happens. With these simple sugars, it's not just about what they're made of, it's all about their shape. Their three-dimensional structure is everything.
So what's their secret? What gives them this shape-shifting power? It all comes down to something called an asymmetric carbon. That's a carbon atom that's attached to 4 completely different things. This allows for all these different 3D arrangements we call isomers, molecules with the exact same chemical formula but different structures. And that little formula, 2 to the power of n, tells you exactly how many versions are possible.
Okay, let's put this into perspective with our favorite sugar, glucose. It has 4 of these special asymmetric carbons. So you take that number, 4, you plug it into our formula, 2 to the power of 4, and you get 16. That's 16 totally unique molecules, 16 different shapes, all from the exact same handful of atoms, just arranged a little differently. It's this incredible structural diversity that lets them do so many different jobs.
Now, one of the coolest types of isomers are enantiomers. Just look at D-glucose and L-glucose. They are perfect, non-superimposable mirror images of each other, just like your left and right hands. And here's the kicker. Our bodies are super picky about this. The enzymes in our cells are built to work with the right-handed D sugars. The L sugars just don't fit, which is why we can't get any energy from them.
But wait, the differences can be even tinier. Meet epimers. These are isomers that are almost identical except for the arrangement around one single carbon atom. Take a look at glucose and galactose. They're practically twins, but that hydroxyl group on carbon number 4 is flipped. You might think, so what? But that tiny little flip has huge consequences. The genetic disease galactosemia is caused by the body being unable to make that one simple chemical flip.
Okay, one last little shapeshift to cover, and this one is a game changer. You see, in water, glucose doesn't stay in a straight line. It curls up and forms a ring. When it does that, a new hydroxyl group on carbon number 1 can either point down, which we call the alpha anomer, or it can point up, which we call the beta anomer. Now, I know this seems like a super minor detail, but trust me, you're about to see why this alpha versus beta thing is one of the most important concepts in all of biochemistry.
All right, so we've got our individual building blocks, right? The monosaccharides. Now, how do we start clicking them together? It's time to talk about the molecular glue that builds everything from simple disaccharides to massive polysaccharides.
And that glue has a name, the glycosidic bond. It's a really strong covalent bond that forms between 2 sugar molecules. And remember our old friends alpha and beta? Well, the orientation of this bond, whether it's an alpha bond or a beta bond, determines the entire shape, structure, and ultimately the function of the final carbohydrate chain.
And this bond is how we get the sugars you probably know from your kitchen. Take sucrose, that's just table sugar. It's a glucose linked to a fructose. Lactose, the sugar in milk, is a galactose linked to a glucose. And if you've ever heard of lactose intolerance, it's simply because a person's body doesn't make enough of the enzyme needed to break that specific glycosidic bond.
And boom, here it is, the big payoff, the reason we spent all that time talking about alpha and beta. Starch, the stuff in potatoes and rice, is just a long chain of glucose molecules linked by alpha bonds. Our bodies have the right enzymes to break those bonds and get energy. But cellulose, the stuff that makes celery crunchy, is a long chain of glucose linked by beta bonds. And we don't have the enzyme to break that bond, so potatoes are energy, celery is fiber. And the only difference is the direction that one little bond is pointing. How incredible is that?
Okay, so plants have starch. What about us? What's our go-to energy stash? It's a molecule called glycogen, sometimes called animal starch. It's also made of alpha-glucose units, but it's way more branched than plant starch. And why so many branches? It's all about speed. It gives our enzymes tons of places to start snipping off glucose molecules all at once, which means we get a super fast burst of energy right when our muscles need it.
So, we've seen carbs as fuel and as building materials. But if you think that's all they do, oh, you are in for a surprise. In this last section, we're about to see their job description get a whole lot bigger.
I mean, just look at this list. Their resume is absolutely stacked. We've got structural roles, like the chitin that makes up the hard exoskeletons of insects. They are part of the very backbone of our information system, DNA and RNA. They're the WD-40 for our joints, like hyaluronic acid. They're even life-saving drugs like heparin, an anticoagulant. And maybe most importantly, they're responsible for our cellular identity. And what's really wild is how a tiny chemical tweak can turn these molecules into either a lifesaver or a major problem. For example, the sugar alcohol mannitol is used in hospitals to reduce dangerous swelling in the brain. But on the other hand, another sugar alcohol, sorbitol, can build up in people with uncontrolled diabetes and cause serious damage like cataracts and nerve pain. It's a real double-edged sword.
Now remember how we said carbs are important for cell identity? This is how it works. You take a protein, you stick a fancy, complex carbohydrate chain on it, and bam, you've got a glycoprotein. Those carbohydrate chains act like sophisticated ID badges, telling the rest of the body what that protein is and what it's supposed to do. And if you want the absolute best, most mind-blowing example of this in action, you don't have to look any further than your own veins. Your blood type, A, B, AB, or O, is determined entirely by the carbohydrate ID badge on the surface of your red blood cells. The only thing separating blood type A from B is a single extra sugar molecule. That's it. That's the whole ballgame.
So, what have we learned? From the tiniest flip of an atom in a single sugar ring to the massive chains that build plants to the complex codes that identify every cell in our body, carbohydrates are writing these incredibly intricate and beautiful stories. They're not just simple sugars, they're a language of shape and structure that life uses to build, power, and define itself. The only question is, what story will we discover they're telling next?